Hello, today we are going to discuss about Essay 600. The title of Essay 600 is Using the Work of Another Auditor. The first thing which we are going to discuss is the objective of this standard. So this standard tells about while using the work of component or other auditor, what the principal auditor has to do. So the first thing is what is the responsibility of the principal auditor. So what he has to do while working with the other auditor or component auditor. And the second thing is what are the standards to be followed by the principal auditor while using the work of other auditor. This standard is not applicable to joint auditor and predecessor auditor. The next thing which we are going to discuss are the audit procedures to be followed while using the work of component auditor. So the first thing is the principal auditor generally has to rely on the work of component auditor, but if the principal auditor has to visit the component and has to examine the books of accounts, then you don't have to rely on the work of a component auditor. The second is if component auditor is not a chartered accountant, then the principal auditor has to consider his professional competence, whether he is competent or not. And the third thing is while planning the audit, the principal auditor has to coordinate with the component auditor and has to guide him, and he also has to advise the component auditor about the accounting, auditing and reporting requirements. And finally the principal auditor has to discuss with the component auditor about what kind of audit procedures he applied while doing the audit, and if possible the principal auditor has to meet the component auditor, and finally the principal auditor has to consider the findings of the component auditor which are significant in terms of audit. The next thing which we are going to discuss are the things to document. So the first thing the principal auditor has to document is the name of the component, and the second thing is that the significance of the component in the total financial statements, whether the component has a less significance or high significance in comparison to the total audit. And the third thing is if the principal auditor concluded that the component is immaterial, then he has to document how he reached, how he concluded and how he made that decision that component is immaterial. And the final thing is how the principal auditor deal with the modified report given by the other auditor. These are the four things the principal auditor has to document. The next thing which we are going to discuss is the responsibility of the principal auditor. Generally, while giving the audit report, the principal auditor in other matter paragraph has to mention clearly the division of responsibility for his audit and component audit. Like he has to mention how many components are audited by him and how many components are audited by other auditors. For example, like out of 100 branches he did, the 20 branches were audited by the other auditor, so which is also equal to the 25% of the total assets of the company. So these things he has to mention in the other matter paragraph. The last thing which we are going to discuss in this standard is the reporting. So if the opinion of other auditor is the modified opinion, then the principal auditor has to verify whether he also has to modify his audit report opinion or not. And the second thing is if the opinion of the other auditor is unmodified opinion, in that there are two cases. See, the first case is if principal auditor rely on the work of other auditor, it means that principal auditor is trusting the work of other auditor, then he also can give the unmodified opinion, plus he also has to mention in other paragraph regarding the division of work. But in case of unmodified opinion, but the principal auditor does not rely on the work of the component auditor or other auditor, plus he also unable to perform any additional procedures to obtain any sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then the principal auditor can modify his opinion. If you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.